What's up? Happy Thursday, April 3rd. Here we are, cranking the mosh pit. And so all sorts of exciting things running through the circuits over the past couple of days. People have been following us. We've got two products cranking, both of them really in validation stage, Bonuslink and okgotcha.com, I believe. And so quick recap, Bonuslink is basically, I've been calling them stream hubs lately, and they help YouTube content creators monetize their audience by atomizing the content from a YouTube video out into all sorts of snackable content. Got some really good feedback today from Greg Eisenberg's group. And so I'd love to maybe start unpacking there, because it's always, validation feedback is sort of the lifeblood of what we do. And I thought that was interesting. What do you think, Kevin?
That sounds great. Yeah. I mean, we are on a learning journey here of rapid learning. The advantage we have as a startup is launching autonomous businesses out of our studio here 4 days into Bonuslink. And so I'm going to just share my screen really quick and bounce around a couple of things. And yeah, let's chat through some of the great feedback we've got from Greg Eisenberg's team and some of the other groups that we've talked with as well. Yeah, as Dave said, right, we're taking this video content and helping creators get more impact out of it. Ultimately, moving their viewers into owned audience by capturing their email, because we offer them so much value, and then they can move into their paid offerings, be it communities or courses or coaching. And quick little demo here. Jumped into an account, got a few different demo videos uploaded. Really easy to just bring in a new video like this. This is our huddle call from yesterday, and we'll import it, and that'll run, take a couple minutes. That one's in here already, and and then we'll end up with a page like this. I'll jump in and kind of jump into a little bit of the feedback. So as a creator, you take your content that you're already creating, motion you're already doing, and bring it into import it into Bonuslink, so we can create a Bonuslink page for you. And this is what it looks like once we've processed that and we've broke it down into the different takeaways and the quotes, even a automatic guide or two that's been created out of the content to help the viewers digest it even better, get more value out of it. And then you can publish that page and be able to view it. And so super mobile friendly here to be able to scroll through. These are all the different links that were mentioned in the conversation. So none of these were added manually. These are all automatically detected, which is super helpful and fast for operations for the creator. And great screenshot cards here that jump right to the moment in the conversation of the takeaway, also that they can jump right in and get that value from that. A couple of the pieces of feedback that we've received are super valid as well. So just going through that flow, and why I want to take us through just that much of it is this is the creator admin view of this content. We're in the sauce, we're looking at it, we're building it, we're focused on how do we break this down to provide this value to the viewer here. One of the things I think we overlooked in this experience is that I'm signed in right now as an admin, looking at one of the published pages, and it doesn't really show me that part of this content is gated. And so as the viewer is looking through the takeaways, they get about 3 takeaways down, and it should become gated here, much like a Substack where it says, hey, subscribe to the email newsletter to unlock the rest of this value. It does that if I log out and I look at it as just a public regular viewer. But the experience we built here for the person setting up, the creator setting up the page, they don't really reinforce that that's the flow here. And so while they might see that in our homepage and how we talk about it, they're missing that in the actual setup experience. And so thought that was like a super, super valuable piece of feedback, because that's one of the biggest things we're trying to drive home here. Biggest value is taking your viewers from YouTube, bring them into your owned community by collecting their email addresses so that you can communicate to them. You can provide them updates on when your new content is out, on your course offerings and community offerings or coaching, right? And move them away from relying on the algorithm. So every step of the way, we just really, really, really want to reinforce that. And so looking at having someone else look at it with fresh eyes that also is a seasoned content creation team was really, really helpful feedback just on that alone. Quick solutioning on that was my brain instantly went to, oh, well, others have solved this in that admin view, like HubSpot and WordPress, where they'll throw a little admin bar across the top, this little sticky bar, and it kind of tells you what's going on. It kind of tells you you're viewing an admin view, and maybe lets you toggle if you're viewing it as admin or viewing it as a normal public viewer. So I think those are some like quick optimizations that we can make that really drive home the selling points, the value of the product in the initial setup. So yeah, I got a lot more, but I'll stop there for a second. How's that resonate to y'all? I just got that literally right before we jumped on this call. Does that make sense to you? I feel like I've got a little bit of blinders on as I've just been in this every single day.
Spot on. I mean, as a recovering WordPress developer back in the day, like I definitely appreciate that corollary. You are trying to like develop the experience for the consumer of it, and it may not materialize exactly how you built it if you're not seeing the same thing or being able to toggle between those. So I love that. But Dave, you're muted.
I thought one of the most interesting things that she said, and it was really in passing, but really I think we need to dig into it a little bit more, is she pointed out guides. And she goes, we probably wouldn't use that because we want to control our lead
Lead
magnets.
magnets.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
And that, from my perspective, was one of the most interesting things, I think. And it's like, well, hold on. This is a lead magnet. Like, this is what it's, so what is this? Like, what is this not accomplishing that you think it should accomplish? Right. And so I thought, there's other stuff that she unpacked in terms of bugs. And there's definitely, so like, you can't even look at articles in the back end. You can't open them. She pretty much caught all the bugs, I think, if there was one. But that, as far as like value of the page, I think that was the most interesting thing. It was like, or the value of the tool? It was like, somehow we're missing the mark as a lead magnet for what we want to be a lead magnet. And so anyways, I thought that I know it's worth peeling that back, like scratching that a little bit further and figuring out what we're missing there.
Yeah, it feels like it's worth a follow up with her to like ask those questions, because you're right, they're vital questions.
And it's funny because I got some other feedback from another coach that also is a like multi-time author, right? So they're an actual writer, and their reaction to this was, "Wow, that content! I love the tone of that content. It's like spot on." So their initial reaction to it was, "This content is great," right? And so it's in her from Greg's team was not that the content was off. It was, we want to control, like we want to make sure we do our lead magnets. There's still, there's nothing like wrong with this. And I shared another one earlier today that I thought was just phenomenal, from a 15-minute video from a team that works with startups. And I'm like, this is just, I can read down through this, and this is the kind of content that I'd like want showing up in my email inbox, right? Like if I was going to take 2 minutes to read an email and I have 5 headers that give me the answers, and I can dive into the 2 headers that I really want to like learn more about, I'm like, this is really good content. So we've got something here. We just got to figure out how to package this up and present it a little bit better, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because these guides are also very like underrepresented. They don't get like their sort of spot in the limelight.
That was my thought too. Like it was like like we default to the links, right? Yeah. And it's like, and which in like, is that actually the right place to default? I don't know. Maybe it is more guides. The other thing that she asked for was more of a branded page, which was interesting, which you could imagine, like, so that way, like she could put more, like do a Greg Eisenberg backdrop, or like have more, be able to like have a little bit more of a branded page around it. But yeah, it was all.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've gotten that feedback twice as well. Is, hey, can we change the order of the items? Like,
yeah, she said that too.
Twice. That links first is not what they want. Another feedback that I've gotten a couple of times, which is also interesting and it's also kind of obvious that we haven't done it, is order the takeaways and quotes, etc., by timestamps chronologically.
Yeah,
that is a very obvious one too, because then you can actually kind of browse through the video. And it's also interesting because like when you, from the subscriber or pre-subscriber kind of view, right, it's like, oh, you have the first 3 things, now you're interested, you have like the timeline in your head, and then the 4th is to subscribe. So it's also a little bit more of an more of a clear anchor to follow. So that was
Yeah.
another
And that could be
obvious
a
one I
toggle
think they
too,
should get
right?
in.
Of, hey, we default to chronological because that feels right to most people out of the gate. And then you could default, and then that you could turn on the switch to rank by, most impactful, right?
Right.
As an
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
But when
That's a good.
somebody first jumps into the tool, they don't have trust in the tool. They don't know what's going on, and they start to see things out of order, and they think something's broken, right? They just don't.
Yeah.
They don't know yet. Like we understand what a social algorithm does and how it ranks importance, and so we accept that now at this point. There was a time
Yeah.
where it didn't do that, and it was chronological. And if it did anything but chronological, it was broken to us. So
All the
I
glory
can
days.
definitely see where it was coming from.
Yeah.
I got some great feedback as well. Very similar in terms of like aesthetic, but around the value. I had a great conversation with one of my mentors who's now at Accenture today, and he saw a future value proposition here, which I thought was really astute on his part, right? Which is, in a world of generative content creation, how do you establish the baseline, right? Like, is there not a massive amount of intrinsic value here of just decomposing and effectively indexing all of the content we've created in history as a brand so that we can use generative to build new content off the back of that? He really dug into that premise and saw a ton of value there.
Definitely. Yeah. I could see that for sure, especially for enterprise brand organizations. I mean, they spend, I think I have a banking customer in another business, and we just spent like years going through the brand overhaul and whatnot, like literally years. And, they're going through they're going through every single piece of content, every PDF, every blog post, every video, and like making sure that it gets regenerated with the new logo and updated. And, you're like, brutal, right? And you can imagine years, like 3 years on this initiative, like, or something like that. It's insane. So yeah, it's definitely a big problem in big organizations.
Something else he keyed on too, which I thought was just provocative, like as a one-liner, which is something to the effect of, we're all used to this kind of incorrect definition of shared knowledge, right? And most people's minds will go to something like shared storage in a dam of assets, right? Which is not the same as shared knowledge about those assets and all the other information in the org. And there's a lot of truth to that, right? Think about how you exchange assets. Like, Dave's got this awesome sales deck. I saw him pitch it a week ago. I'm gonna hit Dave up. Can I get a copy of that deck? And now there's 2 copies of it, one on my machine, one on yours. How do people get access to the best version of that without having to take time out of their day to reinsert it as a new version in the dam? How do people know that it's in the dam? How do you effectively search the dam? How do you use all of the information in the dam that is spewed across many assets to create something new without having to go into each individual asset and extract those individual components to then use again? That's an exciting premise that you could just put that on autopilot to just build this brain, maybe whether or not you're going to use it for audience development. Just the notion of that underlying, the multimodal knowledge layer of Mesh OS there, it seems to be hitting a nerve with folks who sort of get the AI side of it.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? So I think that's still an area worth exploring, like the content hub. But
Yeah.
I mean, now that we talked about feedback, should we do a quick where do we take it from here?
Can I give you one more piece of feedback? Because I've been, I know
I have one more too, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go.
Because
Go.
I'm doing this right now. I'm taking the YouTube videos here and then putting them into Bonuslink, and then taking the Bonuslink content, and we have an API endpoint, right? And putting that into Notion to then create a daily post, right?
Mhm.
And I would, I think that there's a saying, which is that content must reach people to reach its potential. And while we love our page, I think it's helpful to give the ability to get the stuff out of the page,
Yeah.
right? And so I would say if there's a way to expose like that API link, fairly easily, like, someplace on the back end, so that way somebody could just, get their JSON, or other fairly simple ways of telling the story of like, this can come out of here and it can be automated out of here.
Yep.
would be, I think would be helpful. So
one and the same. That's exactly what I wanted to show and say. Perfect, Dave. So yeah, we already had this route where you add you know, you add API into the route here, and then you get back. This is the JSON that's represented on the screen. It's a whole lot of text when we're looking at it like this. From a programmatic standpoint, it's a very easy object for another system to be able to grab. The example I was going to give was the guide, right? If we are creating these great lead magnets as an example, and this content is great, then where does it need to go in an automated basis? Is this the weekly email or one of the daily emails for a creator that they want to send out to their audience? Instead of being discoverable here or in addition to. I agree. I'd like to do a piece of content around that of just doing a couple quick automation flows. Maybe use a gum loop, make an 8N just to show people that it can be tied together pretty quickly, and then unlock their brains of this can be used for whatever they'd like in that content. Same thing with takeaways. I'm working on a guide right now, actually. So this isn't a video, but this is a written guide that I'm trying to finish here next day, of being able to take, if you publish 1 to 2 videos a week, pretty standard for a consistent creator, and building the top of their funnel, you're going to have 10 to 20 like takeaways and quotes or more to use to just grab nuggets to be able to put into a weekly newsletter. And that's more than enough content to deliver to somebody, give them jumping off points that are then literal. We could deep link that, right? And based on that takeaway, right back into the bonus link page and let somebody jump into the content that they missed that week. Some pretty easy ways to do that. And of course, we could keep building out the product and like automating some of this as well. But we're thinking about flexibility right now, right? Because we want to be able to fit as many systems and flows as possible that already exist without being too opinionated on that, right? It gives us the most amount of flexibility. But there's also some people that I do believe there's a lot of people that we could deliver a lot of value to by putting these different pieces on the rails, like a weekly newsletter that just says, here's the content from last week, here's some recommended content based off of Mesh OS that we know across all their other back catalog. So I'd love to get to there. I'd love to build the case to get to there.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think I've been, I don't know, I haven't shared this yet. Let me share my screen because it's technically not done, but I wanted to give you guys quick. You see my screen? So it's just, that's sort of what I'm starting to like test as a landing page, right? Just to like get and test that sort of, content hub and sort of emphasize more the fact that you can get like coursework and everything else on, and that's more like testing the paid content hub side of things. So I'm going to start running out a little bit of that test just to see, if that resonates. So that's going to be part of, I think, some of the Reddit tests that I'm going to make, which talks a lot about, auto-magically creating all of that content continuously from your stuff, which is something that you slightly highlighted. I'm wondering if we could, like what you said, Kevin, if we could do an initial sort of baseline test where because if someone uploads a video or 2 or 3, we could theoretically like infinitely give them new stuff, right? Like you said, we could just send them as a user a newsletter and say, hey, here's a new piece of content we made from all your videos. I think that's a good fun try. Like I'm not sure if it solves the issue of getting people onboarded now, but I think it kind of hints at that as an idea, right? Which kind of takes us one step out of that. Okay, you extracted information out of my video and turned that into content, right? Is that a good step to the right for us?
That's a super valuable thing for us. We were talking about it a bit this morning to keep keying in on, is that for everything that we can optimize within the product and within the down funnel experience to keep delivering value and bring those creators back, and we can see it, and we're very talented and able to do that. Whereas we're getting the ball rolling on a new product, like any new product, the harder challenge to solve is the up the funnel and helping deliver value for them so that they come down into that portion. So then we can have more people to optimize those experiences forward, ask them questions like, what CRMs would you want to be integrated to, right? And so I think what we're talking about, what you started diving into last night around, programmatically finding those people They're searching for these problems on Reddit that are around the problem space, bringing them in, giving them value. I want to sync up with you on the lead magnet that I'm working on here. That is that very easy guide to understand like what can you do to go from growing your list to monetizing your audience, and where does Bonuslink fit in there? So it's being able to offer the value up there to even get them to come down into our app in the first place. It's a lot. It's product all the way down, right? So that's something that I think, going back to a retro reflection on the start of Bonuslink Sprint, is that I definitely wish I would have started there, of making sure that that whole funnel was part of the product outline. And where I started the product outline was the front door of where the user signs up. So that was definitely a learning for me, and encouraging us to build into our process moving forward.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and it's interesting, right? Because like if you look at Gacha, for example, I mean, we're adding all those learnings here very quickly, right? Like, I mean, there's just a lot more in terms of offering content here about AI safety, implementing human oversight, right? It has all of those like more theoretical data in it that actually can potentially serve as lead magnets from the get-go. So I think we can get all those things into the Bonuslink too, obviously, and just keep pondering on the funnel. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Bob, I know you gotta skedaddle here. Well, this has been awesome. Good feedback session and taking a look at all the work that's been done. So really appreciate you all.
All right.
Sweet.
See you guys.
Cool.
Talk soon.
Catch you tomorrow. Bye.